All right, and we are joining back. It's bringing everybody back into here. Hopefully, everybody had a nice little break and maybe got something to drink. I know I needed something. I was a little parched, but nevertheless, and with no further ado, we are joined by a pair that really probably needs no introduction from a company that we all know and definitely have heard about, and many of us even use, Chili Piper, right? So joining us now. We have Alina and Nicolas Vandenberghe joining us to present on how to, and understanding rather, that it's time to redeploy your SDRs. So with no further ado, I'll turn it over to the two of you. Thanks so much again for joining. Again, everyone, follow, like, share, comment, social, everything, and use the Q&A and chat. We'll see you on the other side. Thanks so much. Over to you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. We're both very happy to be here. Some of you might have heard of Chili Piper, and some of you might have not. So I'll just do a short intro. Nicolas and I are the co-founders. We're also husband and wife, which I know a lot of people have asked us in the past how we do it. It's because we have a very specific skill set that is complementary. So we've been working together for a very long time, and by now we know how to resolve all our disagreements and collaborate very well. But I don't advise for anyone else to do it. So we started the company in 2016. At the beginning, we bootstrapped, meaning that we have sold our car, we have sold our house, and put everything that we had in Chili Piper. And after we made sure that the company has an economic viable path forward, we also did our proper venture capitalist venture way. We raised $53 million in seed A and B so far. And even before the pandemic, we've always been remote. And right now we're about 180 employees, but every day we're growing and we're hiring across many time zones. So we have 32 countries where we have Pipers. And we have a lot of cool companies as our customers. You can see some of the bigger names in here, but in general, all the tech cool companies are Chili Piper customers. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about traditional inbound SDRs and why we think that that process is not quite right, and what we've seen in our own companies and other companies do it in a much more efficient way. Typically, in the way marketing has been structured is that a lead comes to your website, you have a form that captures that lead's email address, and then you start nurturing that lead in hopes that they will buy from you. And because that process started that way on blog posts, on many other pages, then the handoff to the sales team was kind of done in a similar fashion where, okay, we have this lead, it has been nurtured, now sales, it's your job to go and chase them, and maybe you turn them into a meeting.
Just a comment on that. So the process was very focused on capturing emails and then assessing when the prospect was ready, hence the concept of an MQL and an SQL, so sales qualified lead, but then marketing qualified lead. So marketing is so very much that mission and capturing emails and trying to get interaction with email, and then move on to sales, and then start from scratch and start the job of really selling. So that's how it's been done, and so some of the maybe are still using this old process to operate. But there's a problem with this process.
Is that
big problem?
It doesn't work that well, in that a lot of leads that have expressed their interest, that they've already put their email address and they say, okay, we want to buy from you. A lot of them actually get lost, and there are a lot of reasons why that lead gets lost. There's slow follow-up for whatever reason. Maybe an SDR is not available in that particular moment. There's some friction in the process. It's not quite clear who should get that lead in the first place. There's a lot of chasing as well and back and forth into figuring out who that person should be booking to, and so forth.
We'd be curious in the comments actually to hear in the chat who is still, based on that process, who is still doing the job of following up with the prospect that have been captured by marketing and trying to chase them, especially those who have requested a demo versus who, as opposed to using more modern techniques that we're going to talk about if you want. All right, so let's go in details on the different channels on the website.
There are the forms, and typically the form is the biggest source of leads for companies. And what typically happens on a form is that it's not the integration is not always done very well between the marketing software and the CRM, so the information doesn't all get pushed through. But in general, everybody knows that the slower you are to respond to the lead, the worse your conversion rates are.
There's some research that says what we show on the slide, that 50% of the leads go to the first company to respond. I think by now everybody understands that, but it's just a difficult process to be available at any time for an inbound SDR to be on top of the form every time a form is submitted, and it's just a very, very hard process to optimize.
And then you may have leads that are coming from your chatbot.
So chatbot was actually, as everybody knows, made popular on the website by Drift, with the idea that this form process is broken, then let's replace it with a chat and a chatbot. That was the concept, because at least it was a good foundation in that it was recognized that the form process is broken. But the unfortunate truth is that the chatbot process is equally broken. That's what we showing there. So it very often takes a long time to get back and forth on the chat. We say, what was your last experience with chatbots? It takes forever. You can't find the answer you're looking for. And in the end, we just want to talk to a rep, but it takes many, many steps to actually get there. As a result, the conversion rate is equally low on forms. And companies still lose more than half their prospect, even when they put a form on their website, a chatbot on their website.
And it's still a lower source of leads in general for companies that are coming from chat. I personally, as a consumer, whenever I see a bot on somebody's website, I know that I'm going to go nowhere, because I'm going to go in circles with my question, and it takes forever to get to a human, and it's quite frustrating experience.
And some yet other companies use phone to dial immediately, either upon a form submission or a bit later. And we also found that doesn't work well. First of all, of course, we all know it's difficult to get on the phone with somebody. They don't pick up. But even they do, very often that process from there is broken. Sales, that's actually how we started Chili Pepper. SDR, inbound SDR on the phone, they know that the prospect is interested, but then it takes them 7 minutes to find which rep should take that meeting, to actually find the calendar from the rep, to actually create the invite, send the invite. And in the process of these 7 minutes, the prospect has hung up, and now next thing, the prospect is not going to show up to that meeting because they were not in a position to confirm that the meeting was going to happen. So yet another and third process for inbound that was broken.
So here's what we have found in a much more productive use for inbound SDRs.
Is to simply automate that process, all of the process, the three processes: the phone, the form, the chat, automate. And the drive to automate them is to make them bring a meeting faster. That's what we call the straight-to-meeting imperative. The idea that capturing an email and following later and chasing them with emails, we say it's for losers. And what we mean by that is not that we're insulting anybody. It's just that you're going to lose your prospect and be on the losing side of competition with that whole process. Now is the time to think something different.
So we're going to show you how one can automate all these channels, and how the existing inbound SDRs used much more efficiently. Here it's a PDF, so unfortunately you can't see the animation on it, but what I was planning to show is that if somebody comes on your website and fills out a form or simply goes through a checklist on your chat, you can qualify them instantly and get them to the right person to talk to instantly. And if that person is not available right away, because it's night or it's a Saturday or whatever the reason is, then they can actually go and book a meeting. Once the meeting is obviously booked on their calendar, that lead has much less chances to escape you.
So contrast the experience from a prospect interested in getting a demo. In the old days, prospects submit a form, get a page, thank you, somebody's going to call you, and then is left wondering when somebody's actually going to call them, versus that automated way where the computer actually in real time is going to look at the data from the prospect, qualify the prospect, in real time route to the right rep, and retrieve the calendar to be booked. One click later, the prospect now has a meeting already lined up. And of course, the conversion rates go from typically 40% in the old way to 80 to 90% in the new way of that automated. The computer is just faster, better in this particular job at doing it. Often prospects ask us, yes, but we can't do that because in our case, we need to qualify. Our inbound SDRs qualify. And the truth is that we fully understand that people are protective of their inbound SDRs and want to save their job, but I don't think it's just the right thing because it's very rare. We still have to find a use case where qualification cannot be done by simply asking a question. What we found at Chili Piper is that if you ask a question on the form, prospects are actually truthful. They'll just tell you, if you say, are you using Salesforce CRM? They'll say, yes, we're using Salesforce. Or, no, we're not using Salesforce CRM. If you ask them, do you have a project currently in the works, or do you have budget? Or they will tell you the correct answer. And as a result, you don't need, and it's very rare that qualification takes more than that. It's just a simple checks. Are you on the right tech stack, or are you within 1 year of your renewal, or whatever the question may be, is a question you can ask in the form, and you'll get the answer, and the computer then can ask on this response to take action. So that's the automation of the inbound SDRs. As we look at that, we have come to realize that this straight to meeting imperative is actually part of a much bigger phenomenon that I think everybody should be aware of. It's been discussed quite a lot that the buyers come to your site, they're already educated, or that they spend less and less time with salespeople and more time on their own. That's what this company called Sixth Sense calls the dark funnel. The dark funnel is actually only dark from the vendor. From the prospect standpoint, it's a very bright funnel where you need information. For example, you need to decide how you're going to do outbound, and you want to find out if Outplay is a solution. Well, you're not going to call an Outplay salesperson. You're going to ask your friends. You're going to ask a Slack channel. You're going to ask the other people, right?
Yeah, community, you're going to go after reviews, you're going to go on forums, you're going to start pinging people to see what they think about them.
And by the time you come to the Outplay site, then you already know a lot. There are a few things you need to check, there are a few features you need to see, things you need to understand, but you're much more educated. So the idea that somebody's going to capture your email and nurture you is absurd. It's just the old way of doing things. What needs to happen is, from the vendor standpoint, is conversion, is to book a meeting immediately and then convert. Another phenomenon around the dark funnel is the fact that there are more and more tech solutions. The market is much more fragmented, but for good reason. People go with best of breed, which means that where they would in the past only buy one package, say they would buy Oracle Financials for their HR, for their finance, now they're going to buy 12 solutions, each for a particular problem around finance. In our case, for example, we just hired the head of analytics. The person came and said, okay, we need a stack of 5 different solutions. And within 2 weeks, we had procured the 5 different solutions, and we had choices to make. But for sure, we made these choices very, very fast. And any company that didn't reply quickly enough was out, right? So we observe that there are a lot more decisions. The decisions are made faster, and time is even more critical than in the past to the new world and the new process. So it's not only the dark funnel that people come educated, it's also that they're going to make a decision faster. They have more decisions to make, and you need to capture them immediately. Hence the critical aspect of this inbound conversion and the critical aspect of automating it.
And this is kind of the key to the next part of the presentation on how SDR should be made much more strategic to the organization as opposed to them being scheduling assistants. You want them to be salespeople. You want them to, their mission to be to influence all of your channels to make sure that those meetings happen. And we have found 3 ways in which the SDRs can be a much more strategic partner to the organization.
I would say that's the silver lining of it, is that a lot of our prospects say, I've built this inbound SDR team. I remember a guy say, they're nice, my SDRs. I don't want, why do you want to kill them? We actually don't want to kill anybody. Quite the opposite. We want to promote everybody. And I'm going to explain that in detail, how we do it at Chili Pepper. But the important piece is that the job we were asking the inbound SDRs to do was not a sales job. It was a scheduling assistant job. Like calling somebody who said, I want a demo, to schedule that demo is not a sales job. Sales is about influence. It's about leading people to do something that is good for them. It's not about booking a time on a calendar. That's something that is fundamentally administrative in nature. So at Chili Pepper, we never had inbound SDRs. We always automated this process from day one, obviously, since that's our product. But we have found that there are more and more opportunities for SDR-like talent to help the business, and this is what we're going to talk about. So where you can redeploy your inbound SDRs in making them real sales resources as opposed to administrative resources. The first one that's close to this concept of inbound is what we call all bound. So what we found at Chili Pepper is that when we launched our account-based marketing campaigns, going after specific accounts and specific companies, we often had the question of who should take credit, because an SDR had also called that same account, which makes sense, right? So if you say, let's say in our case, DocuSign, right? DocuSign is not yet a customer. We think they should be. So we target them on marketing. We have an SDR go after DocuSign. Now, someday DocuSign is going to come to their senses and book a meeting with us to buy our solution.
Aren't they a customer yet?
Maybe. So the question is, who takes credit? Because the SDR has been working on it, and the ABM campaign has also been heavily focusing on targeting, in this case, DocuSign. What we found is that when both work in concert, we are more likely to get that meeting. So we are more likely to get this engagement. So in the beginning, we said we need to decide who gets credit. Now we're looking at a much more refined way to give credit, because in effect, both actions have worked, right? Both the ABM campaign and both the SDR outreach. The thing is, it's very difficult to do the attribution because typically prospects will come what we call direct. So they'll just come straight to the website. They've seen an ad, they've seen the email from the SDR, but they just call their friend one last time and come to the website. So as a result, there's no attribution. But when we ask them, how did you find out? Sometimes they say I've seen an ad, other time they've seen I've been contacted by your SDRs, sometimes both. Altogether, what we see is that the data shows that when we do this outbound, it works better. So even if our prospects don't tell us, we see that it works better. We call that outbound. The interesting thing is that, once again, I think it's the theme of our presentation and the theme of a trend in the market. Marketing and sales have to collaborate much more closely than they used to. It's no longer marketing brings an email address and sales go after this chases email address. It's all about how do we influence people together? How do we bring them to a level of interest so that when they land on a website, they're ready to in effect to buy, or very close to that. So that's this all-bound concept. It's more refined than a pure outbound campaign, in that it's not about taking a list of 200 accounts and sending 15 touch points. It's about coordinating with marketing, finding the right message, make sure the message are coherent, and being very thoughtful about how this co-engagement between marketing and sales is going to work. We call it all bound. Frankly, we're at the beginning of that, but we can see it's a huge potential, and it makes a lot of sense. The theory in psychology shows that influence comes in repetitive touches. Right, so there's some research that says take 11 touch points. There's more brain research that shows that a decision is not made by a one-time process by looking at the option and choosing. It's about adjusting the evaluation in successive moves. In other words, when you expose to something, maybe you thought, let's put it on 1 to 10. Maybe you thought it was 6 to 10 that you likely that you will act, but then you see another touch and you move to 7 to 10. So the human brain makes successive evaluations, although until you reach a threshold, then you're going to act. So it makes sense that if you're going to act, touch that evaluator in different contexts, then you're going to improve the odds that the threshold will be reached. So that's all bound.
The next one is something that we've recently created at Chili Pepper, which is the ADR team, the Account Development Representative team.
So the ADR team is something at first we thought we didn't need. We thought we have account managers, it's their job to cross-sell. So if we have a new product, like we just launched a lead distribution product called Distro, we just thought we have our account managers tell our customer that they should not look at this product. But what happened is that we have a regular cycle. Our account managers meet our customers on a regular basis. Sometimes it's off cycle, right? We launched Distro. Well, there was no meeting planned with a whole bunch of our customers, and yet we want to get their attention. So in effect, we using a process similar to the SDR process of getting attention, but on a warm base with more reference points. So it's not about saying, hey, I saw you went to the same school as my grandmother, how about we have a meeting? It's, hey, I'm so glad you taking advantage of our concierge product. We have a new product, you may be interested. So it's a very, again, it's a collaboration. It's not a pure cold outreach SDR job. It's a collaboration between the SDR and the account managers and the marketing team for the new product in influencing our customers to buy our new products. And again, the customers are already in the state of mind that they have a positive experience with us, and now they should consider using other products from Chili Pepper. So we
actually see that a lot badly done with all the products that I use. There's potential for me to use much more features and many more products from the same company, but I don't know that they exist. And it happens the same with our customers. They just do not know that we have extra functionality when we launch it for whatever reason. And this turns your SDRs into evangelists on potential upsells and upgrades that your customers may want, but they don't know that they exist.
There's a special case of the ADR job, and that's the case of free trials or freemium. So you going to have some people using your app, and you want them to either buy the paid version or convert to a paid user. And you're going to need to have a salesperson do that, and it's an influence job. But you may not be ready to send an account executives to convert because there may be some work initially on influencing that prospect, and that's something that can typically be done by an SDR. The SDR will of course be an expert in the product, because you're only going to be able to engage with users if you have some value to add, so you can help them in their usage of the product. Somehow it's closer to customer success. So in this case, it's a collaboration between sales and customer success. As you can see, again, the theme of our presentation and the theme of the future is that there's more and more collaboration between different departments, right? Customer success, sales, marketing. The influence world has become much more sophisticated, and all these teams need to work together. So an account development rep for freemium makes a lot of sense, and of course with the right tools to be able to book meetings and engage and being routed to the right person in real time. Third,
the third category and the last one is how to use your SDRs to influence your partner ecosystem. This is also new to us, relatively new. Is for those of you who are who do have a partner ecosystem, is helping them sell your product.
So the way it works that we have two types of partner at Chili Pepper, actually three types. We have some community people in our community who send us some referrals. We have product partnerships. For example, we have a partnership with Clearbit because it makes sense for customers to use both of our products. And then we have channel partners, so consultants, integrators who are expert into helping their customers getting more productivity and recommend Chili Pepper for the inbound process. And what we found is that these partners have a job to, again, influence their prospects towards getting a meeting with Chili Pepper. That's very similar to the other influence that we've mentioned earlier. It may be on-base or it may be for account-based. The prospect is typically not yet ready to buy the solution, and there's a bit of help needed with a partner to get them to that level. And assigning an SDR to act as an advisor, it's again influencing. So act as an advisor to the prospect is a key step in the process to make sure that we go from possible interest to actually book demo, and everybody wins, right? Our partner gets more work from getting work with Chili Pepper, and of course we get more deals. But it's interesting to realize that it's a part of the sales process that SDRs should excel at, which is the early steps of the influence. So going from a vague interest to a confirmed interest. And as you can tell at the theme of our presentation, we think that when companies are reluctant to let go their inbound SDRs, we say, look, there are so many cool things that your inbound SDRs could be doing. There are many valuable, interesting things that would get them on a growth path. So we want to conclude actually on this growth path for the inbound SDRs, and I'll go back to this slide. SDRs is a fantastic way to get started in a company and to learn the job. And SDRs to understand the market, the product, the customers. It's an amazing way to get trained on the fundamentals of the company. At Chili Pepper, our SDRs have the choice, and let's say the choice, to go and work in any department that they want afterwards. So, of course, based on availability, but we strongly encourage our SDRs to change. So with SDRs, we've become product managers. With SDRs, we became customer success reps. With SDRs, we became event planner. It just happened. We have no restriction on the possible path. But the thing that's critical is that we know that as an SDR, they've really learned the basics. They've really understood what our product does. They've really understood our personas we're going after. They've understood the value proposition. They've understood our go-to-market strategy. So whatever job they do next, they have these basics that are going to help them succeed. And we also think that the future of the SDR position, it used to be that an SDR, I have a talk with John Barrows later this week about that very question. In the old days, it was SDR 12 months, senior SDR another 6 to 12 months, and then you are going to be promoted to AE. It was like and it felt like the SDR position was like the serving time. You were being punished, and you have to keep longer calling cold call until you finally can make it. And we still to this day have SDRs apply to our jobs and say, I'm sick of it because they won't promote me to account executives because for some reason they expanded that serving time to 18 months instead of 12 months. This is not at all how we think of it at Chili Pepper. And it's not at all how we think you should think of it. And everybody should acknowledge that the SDR job is an unbelievably strong training and education that can serve in multiple functions in an organization. So it's one more reason to rethink when you think, well, I've got my inbound SDRs, but what I'm going to do with them, I don't want to deploy an automated solution because I don't want to, have layoffs. There'll be no layoffs. There's a lot of things that talented SDRs can do, and it's a much better career path for them than being an admin assistant booking meetings, like scheduling meetings, calling people to schedule meetings. So that's our presentation on the time to redeploy. Again, step one is to understand that the old process of inbound SDRs, where they get an email and they chase this email, is broken. This is just the wrong way to do things.
It just makes no sense.
It's not going to work. It's frustration for everybody. At best, you're going to lose more than half the people who are already interested in booking a demo. The second piece is the better way is to automate this process, use automation like Chili Pepper to qualify, route, and book in real time. We can even connect on the phone in real time. So that automation is not working. We've been at it since 2017. We have thousands of customers using it. All of them have reported double conversion rates. So it's working. There's no fear to have. And the third piece is, okay, fine, I automate, then what do I do my inbound SDRs? We've suggested three possible paths for you SDRs that are, I would say, innovative, at least from our perspective. We hadn't thought of it earlier. It's a new thing for us to use our SDRs, namely into this all-bound coordinated marketing. The second one is around the partners, working with our partners. That's the third one, and the second one is about using the ADR, so working with on base. So again, a lot of great opportunities to increase revenues. It's kind of a double win, right? Win, you automate, you convert better your inbound process, and then you have more resources to do better with the other part of the business.
All right, we have a bunch of questions. I think we can already go to Q&A. Let's go through some of the one that take a longer answer to. When should the sales team consider deploying a lead routing software?
Good question. And the answer to that is very early on. We I've actually designed a solution, our lead writing software, with that in mind, because in the old days, a lead writing software was a beast, an expensive beast with a lot of complication. If you want to do it, Salesforce is very complicated, and yet that need to make sure that the lead has been followed up with is core. There's no size under which you shouldn't do it. Even if you're only 3-5 reps, you should immediately know which rep is in charge of the lead, and make sure that have what's called SLA, service level agreement. I mean, if the rep hasn't followed up, move on to another rep. You should immediately put that process in place. The only reason why companies didn't do it earlier is because it was too expensive and complicated. But now it's no longer the case. We should do it very, very early on. What's the next question?
What are some of the key points Chili Pepper uses to qualify an inbound lead to an inbound SDR? I love this HubSpot integration tips on how to use them effectively as a salesperson.
So as I say, qualifying can be anything. In our case, it used to be that we were only on Salesforce, so we disqualified everybody who was not running on Salesforce. Now we also do HubSpot, so we qualify also the HubSpot. Our customers qualify on the most diverse dimension. They also rank, so qualification can be binary, so yes, no, but it can also be continuous or at least discrete in that some companies say that the top most qualified prospects go to the most performing reps to make sure that they converted. We have a company that has 3 buckets A, B, C, and the qualification is actually a routing process to bring the most precious leads to the most valuable sales reps. So it can be done. It's just a set of rules that can be done in very easily.
I'll take the first question, which is what separates you from the competitors.
What separates Chili Pepper from the competition?
That one I'll take. It's pretty straightforward. We don't really have competitors. There are some people that claim that do what Chili Pepper does, but they haven't figured it out yet. The complexity is just greater when you actually dig into the details and how data from Salesforce syncs real time and how the system communicates. So we don't really have anybody we're competing with. Another question is
That's one about the AE and to reduce friction sign up. Is it a good idea for an inbound SDR? Can also be an AE and showcase the product. So we're advocating something more dramatic, which is that you don't have an inbound SDR, you directly have an AE, and you have that person showcase the product. A lot of people tell us, yes, but you're going to send unqualified prospects to AEs, and that part I just mentioned, no, we won't, because we'll qualify the prospect automatically. So it's definitely, look, prospects come with the dark funnel. They're already educated. They have a million decisions to make. They're going to choose today maybe between your product and your competitor, and you want to make sure that you put the AE in front of that prospect to win that game. That's how it's going to be. Next question is.
Can you talk more about ADRs? Do they go after churned customers or people who drop off in the sales process and go cold? Also, how does their metric look like?
Great question. So in our case, that's a good question. They could go after churned customers. We haven't done that yet, but that's a very interesting idea. In our case, they go after cross-selling and upselling. So moving existing customers either towards more usage of our existing product or adopt our new products. As I mentioned, as an example, is our lead distribution. And they are compensated the same way an SDR would be, which is on the meetings booked. That's how we've implemented it so far. There is an argument to be made that they could be compensated more as a commission, because in this case, they have more control over not only which account they go with, but which product they go with. So they have more control about the amount, the ACV of what's at stake. We've just decided to start simple and go with meetings booked. Challenge we face about working remotely. Something that comes up a lot. It's a bit different from the topic of SDRs, but I will answer that. We have faced no challenge. It's working wonderfully for us. We've organized it from the beginning. We make decision with this concept of a decision memo online, so everything is documented. We have a Slack channel that's very active by theme, of course. We do a meeting once a week online, and everybody can participate. So all of us show up on Zoom and we exchange. Some people say, but how do you control people do their job? And the answer is
you don't.
We can tell that we don't have say you have to be there 9 to 5. People do whatever they want. We can see the output, right? If you're a salesperson, you can see if you close deals. If you're a marketer, you can see if you produce pipeline. If you're an engineer, you can see if you commit. Nowadays, everything in the cloud, there's zero question on how to measure what people do. So that's not an issue. The only question is culture. And because Alina and I love traveling, we love that people can be wherever they want, and we find that that's also what our employees want.
There's only one thing to be said about remote work, is that not everybody is made for it, and Chili Pepper attracts for people who love the remote work and not those that prefer to be in an office, because it's not for everybody. I think we're up to the time there, David, right?
Correct, and I got to make sure my mic is on. It's changing. You're right. The remote world, the world is evolving and changing. Outplay is evolving. Chili Piper is helping the evolution happen. Really, really love what you're all doing there. I'm grateful for the benefit and value your tool adds to the world, because I've used it many times on both sides. The other thing I meant to say earlier, and I misspoke when I said danke schön. I meant to say mutsmetsk and merci beaucoup.
That's right. Gotta pick the language right. Look, it's a bit confusing. Our last name Vandenberghe is actually
Dutch.
Dutch.
Yeah.
But I'm originally French, so merci beaucoup is.
Yeah, je parle apprécié assez un peu.
Très apprécié.
So thank you all so very much. What we'll do, if anybody else has any other questions or thoughts on this topic, feel free to follow up via LinkedIn or again the other social channels. Appreciate all the great questions from the audience today for this session. That was awesome. And with that said, we'll transition into a little bit of an interlude between sessions, and see you on the next one here in about 3.5 minutes. For this 3.5 minutes, what I will be doing is putting up one more poll. So I'm just gonna leave the poll up for the break, and I'll end this session right at time.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your questions.
So very much. Au revoir.
Bye.